Okay, so from the previous video, our discussion about our walk around building 13 as to why did you guys think that one thing was an entrance versus some doors were not an entrance or not the main entrance to the building, right? And so we came up with all these different things. The doors were made of glass. They were not only made of glass, but they were in a very large area of glass into a large, what looked like a very tall room behind it. Because there are other areas that had glass doors, but we didn't confuse those as the main entrance. The other thing that we talked about is that there was some sort of an overhang, right, that sort of designates entry. Okay? Because all of the things, all the pictures that we had up there, including the ones that are up here right now, are all ways of getting inside of the building. But there are visual clues as to which ones are the ones that lead you into the public space of the buildings and which one's going to lead you into a mechanical room or a storage room, okay? Or maybe into a secondary corridor. So we all did a structure that looked like this, correct? So I'm hoping that that camera can see this. So let me ask y'all a question. So I'm going to hold this out. Can somebody go look and see if the camera sees this? Does it see the object? It does? Is it pretty much in the middle of the frame? Like this? Okay. So let me ask you all a question. Based on our discussion a moment ago, right? Would that right there make a good entrance to the bus terminal? This one right here. No? How about that one? Would that make a good entrance? This one here versus this one here. Which would make a better entrance? That one or that one? Tell me. This one or this one?
I'd probably say the one.
This one over here? Okay, why?
Because it's more open.
It's more open, right? If the walls, if the doors were set back further, could there be an overhanging element? There could, huh? So because of the way that this thing was sort of shaped and formed, the two ends lead themselves to be better as entrance than the sides, which that's the side right there, and here's the other side right here. And this is something that I want you guys to be aware of, because you're going to have to take a form like this one and design a bus terminal, and you're going to have to create an entry that brings people to the bus terminal. And what I unfortunately find a lot of times is that people are designing their buildings and they're putting that face right there, that one, that's what they're pointing out at the parking lot. And it's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, how does somebody know where to go? So I parked out here, and I'm walking up to the building, and all I see is this big blank wall. It doesn't make sense, does it? It would make much more sense if there was a large opening, and that's what kind of attracted me to it. Wow. How many of you guys have gone, do you guys drive down the 57 freeway over by Angel Stadium? Some of you do? You guys have seen the train terminal there? The Arctic? Yeah? I mean, I picked my daughter up there a couple nights ago. She came up from her graduate studies down in San Diego. And, I mean, I pulled up to the front, and it was pretty obvious to me where the main entrance was. There is another entrance, and there's some stairs that come out of it on the side. But the main grand entrance of that bus terminal or that train terminal is the one that faces to the north, and it is the full radius, that full domed radius. It's easy to tell. It's like our entrance here. It had an overhang, it had this wall of glass, it had lots of doors. It wasn't a blank wall with 3 doors in it. Okay? And that's part of what I need you guys to start to understand as you start to work on the design for your terminal. Okay? Is this idea of how do you tell somebody where the entrance is? How many of you guys live in a single family house? Okay, so a couple, some of you might live in like an apartment building, right? Not too much different. But in a single family house, you kind of know, you can tell, right, where your entrance is, right? Typically there's like a little porch and it's covered, right? And there's the walls recessed back and there's a door there. Most of you wouldn't walk up to one of the bedroom windows that might be facing the front of the living room window and try to get in through the window, right? You guys go to that porch. That porch says, look, enter here. And that's what's really important for you guys to remember when you start designing. And I don't know why, but the students tend to forget that. And I swear when doing this project, I've had so many people place their building like that. And it's like, okay, well, here I am in the parking lot out here. How do I get in the building? Okay? We want to make interesting things, right? Architecture is about making stuff that's visually interesting. But it also has to function properly. And you can't ignore one thing over another. If you do ignore one thing over the other, right? Say, for example, you ignore the appearance and the character of the thing, and you focus solely on this idea of just pure function, then maybe you're falling into the trap of some engineers, not all engineers. Okay, Santiago Calatrava was first an engineer before he studied architecture, I believe. So he's a big difference. But if we look at just function, right, then that's kind of one extreme. If we look at the other extreme and we ignore function, then we become artists. Remember that architecture is the synthesis of art and engineering. Okay? And we've been doing it for a long time. Do you guys know what the first recorded architect was? Who was called an architect? How many of you guys saw that like mummy movie? I don't know. There was a guy in it called Imhotep. I see nods. You remember the name Imhotep? Right? So it sounds like something from Hollywood, right? Imhotep was Zozer's, and I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. Zoser was the one that was buried in the first pyramid ever made, and Imhotep was the first architect that made it. So he's the first recorded architect. So architects have been doing this stuff for a long time. Anyway, I'm going to stop this recording because I don't want it to get too long.